side. Also online this hour, a 19-year-old in North Carolina charged with plotting to start a pro-ISIL war in America, but his parents called the FBI. That's all at RT.com. It's good to have you with us today. The U.S. Secretary of Defense has outlined how NATO is planning to deal with Russia.
We're taking a strong but balanced strategic approach, an approach that seeks to ensure Russia cannot force anyone to turn toward the past, all the while welcoming and encouraging Russia to turn back toward the future.
The balanced strategy voiced by Ashton Carter will include the U.S. providing more aircraft and weapons to a NATO rapid response force. It aims to help Europe face its perceived security threats, including Russia. Washington has already announced a plan to store battle tanks, combat vehicles and heavy weapons for as many as 5,000 troops in Eastern Europe. International affairs columnist for The Guardian newspaper, Jonathan Steele, says the U.S. is actually creating an enemy out of nowhere.
It's just part of saber rattling. I mean, the threat, they claim, is from Russia. And I think, as Ash Carter said, they think Russia is trying to recreate the Soviet-style sphere of influence across Europe. I mean, this, of course, is a complete exaggeration, if not nonsense. The US is trying to create an enemy out of nothing. I mean, the Ukrainian crisis is about Ukraine. It's not about the Baltics. It's certainly not about Central Europe or Western Europe. But you know, these are big bureaucratic empires, NATO. They have to have a reason for existence. It's a good thing for the American arms manufacturers to cascade or sell their arms to Western European countries. And so there's a lot of very heavy corporate interests involved in all this demonization of Russia.
China's vast workforce allows it to take on any industry it wants anywhere in the world. Even traditional Palestinian scarf makers are struggling to counter a flood of products bearing the label "Made in China." Paula Sleer reports.
It's time for Izzat Hirbawi to lock up his shop. The end of another quiet working day, and the coffers are as empty now as they were in the morning.
It is our only source of income, and if, God forbid, the factory is closed down, it is going to be very difficult.
Izzat and his brothers have already once closed down the family factory their father started half a century ago. After surviving decades of conflict and Israeli occupation, in the end, cheaper prices from China got to them.
The Chinese didn't really know the traditional Palestinian scarves. A trader from Hebron, from the West Bank, took one keffiyeh with him to China and asked them to copy it. This is how the Chinese came to know the keffiyehs, and now they are selling many of them to Palestine.
The appearance of the Palestinian scarf, or keffiyeh, on the international scene can be put down to the influence of one man, Yasser Arafat. The late Palestinian leader and icon of the resistance was hardly ever pictured without one. And now, because of the Chinese, they're selling at a third of the price, leaving these looms out in the cold. They only recently began working again, but profits have fell by more than half, and whereas once 20 people worked here, today there's 6.
This is part of a global trend. It's not something specific to Palestine. But the sad irony is that something that is so innately Palestinian as the scarf doesn't stand a chance against competition from China. What does it mean for you?
It means a lot. It means this is Palestine, this is the Palestinian. Every Palestinian should have this coffee.
Local traders are not prepared to give up without a fight, and while they can't compete in price, they claim they can in quality.
They try to destroy our business when they bring Chinese stuff and not good quality, not high quality. It is destroying for us as a shopkeepers and destroying for the factory as well.
So now their keffiyehs in every color of the rainbow, take your pick, successfully bringing the symbol of Palestinian resistance back from the brink of extinction with a proudly Made in Palestine tag. Paula Sleer, RT, Hebron.
And coming up next here on the network, a BRICS member into focus. Boom Bust looks at whether Brazil's economy is on the verge of recession after years of sustained growth. This is RT International.